Okay, we will get started in a few moments. This is going to be a live stream related to the September seminar. Is this the right time to sell your home? So many questions out there, whether this is the right time for individuals that are looking to make a move. And we're going to talk about the market. We're going to talk about, is this the right opportunity for you to be able to make your move? And what are the opportunities for those that are making their moves? Let's jump right into it. My name is Spencer Sue. We got a lot to go over. Let's jump right into it. A little bit about me. So I am born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a lifelong resident here. I love the area. There's so many interesting opportunities out here. So I'm personally going to be here for a good while. Now, my first decade of my career was in technology sales. So I worked in the software world. I worked in the enterprise world. And so we did a lot of these different things of learning of how companies decided to grow their real estate portfolio and just the mentality around that. To give you the idea about production, last year I helped 58 clients for over 73 million in transactions, which is the top 1% in the country. So I do a lot, and that's the premise of this. A lot of experience, a lot of exposure to what has worked, what doesn't work. This year alone, we are already surpassed that number, and we still have, fortunately, a quarter left to go. And so we are very excited for the opportunity that we have ahead of us, but also being able to help so many different people. So let's talk about the Bay Area housing market, right? And what does it look like for sellers? Well, you may have heard all the news of what has been going on, right? So buyer activity, September, interesting enough, buyer activity was actually higher. So the numbers of September actually look pretty good because a lot of those figures were from the August numbers. At that point, there was a decline in interest rates, and so as the activity picked up. However, as you may notice, that interest rates have continued to increase, reaching the highest that it has been all year so far. And so the question is for everybody, people are back from vacation. What will happen in October? Will things go back down, or will things somewhat stabilize? Of course, time will tell. No one can for sure bet on this and have a guarantee. But that has been what has been going on a macro level. Now, prices, a lot of people think Bay Area is invincible, and that's not the case. While the Bay Area is strong over an extended period of time, it still is very subject to declines. So prices have declined on average about 15% since the April high figures. Something just to be very mindful of, that it's already adjusted. And that's actually somewhat good news for the local buyers here. Imagine those other markets, let's say in Florida or in Texas, and that may have not dropped that much. Maybe they dropped 5 or 7%. Well, the equilibrium of them is much worse, right? Because as interest rates increase, borrowing power is less. So they just got more and more unaffordable in those markets. So something to be mindful of. The other thing to be mindful of is that the overall transaction or the sales volume is higher than in August and in July, which is interesting enough. People thought it would just keep declining, but that wasn't the case. Last August, it actually was smaller than it was in July. So something to be also mindful that the volume has actually picked up again versus the continuous decline that we saw previously. And we're going to go over some charts so that you can see for yourself what has also been happening. You can see price reductions on active listings. Now, to be fair, it makes sense because in a rising market, people start getting very aggressive, and they think they know a lot more than they do, to be fair. And so you see a lot of people be more out there in front. I'm going to put my price at this amount because my neighbor sold at this price below me, and my house is better than your house. How many of you will say that for your house when you look at anyone else's houses? It's always like that, right? There's a little bit more attachment to it. But the reality too is eventually as the market declines, then people have to make their adjustments accordingly too. And you can see the number of price reductions actually hit a high previously of July, but you can see the August numbers were actually lower. Hence what I mentioned, that there was a lot of people that were getting back into the market in the September, for the September numbers. But it's also important to see like where it has been relative to even a few months ago. Next, current Bay Area housing market for sellers, sales volume by month. How have that been progressing? And this is what I shared earlier. You can see that it's been a pretty big decline in terms of number of homes that have transacted. You can see July was the lowest it has been in quite some time, back to the winter seasons. Wasn't the lowest in history, so it wasn't that bad. You can see how it was comparing to other figures. Like there were times that are actually um, lower than where it is now, but it gives you an idea of just perspective. We came from a red hot market previously, lots of volume, and now we have declined. But you can see, as I brought up, August figures did pick back up. Question up a question of seasonality as people go out back in the market. Lots of people were vacationing. Euro is now at like 95 cents per dollar, which is crazy. And so you see a lot of people traveling, and as people come back, they can make a decision whether they want to buy a place or not. Very important for people to understand when it comes to sellers. When it comes to also just seasonality, is seasonality actually impactful? Historically, the answer is yes. There used to be good times when it comes to seasons, but it really depends on, more importantly, the macro trends. And the biggest macro trend right now is interest rates. As interest rates have continued to increase, it impacts all markets: real estate, stocks, crypto, bond market, everything gets impacted. So don't think that one is gonna go positive versus the other, but what others will do, some will do better than others. It's all relative to what your other options are. Because don't forget, we all have to deal with over 8% inflation, which means if your money's in cash, it is being eaten up very high. So those are some other things just to be mindful of the seasonality matter. In the past, you can see generally spring is the best time, and it's normal for prices to decline in terms of over time, but also there's just less listings. So you can see this is a normal period. It's very common. Spring is usually the busiest time in the Bay Area. Active listings on market, longer term trends. So in general, this gives you an idea like what have inventory levels been, and is there any aspects of seasonality? So you can see July figures tends to be the most amount of options, number of active days, longer term trends. So these are all some of the things that we can anticipate just in terms of volume of transaction. This is about the days on market. You can see things have changed, but it hasn't been the worst that it has been. And that's what some people fail to see. Like even back in 2019, there has been times that actually it was worse than where we're at now. And as you may remember, 2019 through 2020, it wasn't too bad macro-wise. We did reach a mini recession at that time, but it wasn't what we may be experiencing right now in terms of the drastic increases. But high level, you can see the days on market, speed of sale, how long things take. It has increased and it will likely continue to increase. A lot of this has to do, to be fair, of seller expectation of price. If you're overpricing your home, it is going to be likely that you're going to be sitting on the market and you're going to be punished for being on the market. While conversely, other smart sellers are saying, look, at the end of the day, the market will dictate what I want. I'm going to want to sell because I want to move out, do other things with this money. The right move is to have it at a lower price, to still have multiple bidders, multiple people in your property. Because make no mistakes, homes are still selling. And you're not going to get a low ball offer if you place a home already low to begin with, if that was a true, accurate assessment. So that's also the thing that people need to be mindful of, is if you price it a little bit lower, you will still get people to raise it up because people still want the houses. They just don't want overpriced houses. That's the key. So things are still moving, but in general, average days on market is higher. Now, the overbidding aspect of it is actually a couple of things. Number one, sometimes it's a strategy. I usually do it as a strategy to list it lower on purpose. So quote unquote, an overbid was expected. It wasn't really an overbid. It was just what I was expecting and it should have been. So there is that aspect of things, right? The other aspect of things is those that the overbidding aspect. The other aspect of that is now we're in a declining market. And as we are in a declining market, then yes, you will see a lot more of price reductions. And then so that quote unquote overbidding aspect is no longer applicable. So those are just certain things that you can expect. You shouldn't expect like too many really crazy offer versus the history. But if you list it low, you will still get lots of bidders. And that's the purpose of this slide. So you see all this news, right? The reality is this: the market is down. The market is likely going to continue to drop. And so at the end of the day, it boils down to the same thing that I say with buyers and sellers. What is your time horizon? And what is your alternative, right? So you want to think about that. And everybody has a different mindset, because at the end of the day, everybody's portfolios are different. Like if you were all in on real estate, would it make sense potentially to sell some of your real estate and get more exposure in these other asset classes? What if conversely, you work in tech companies here and all of your liquidity is in one company's shares, which a lot of you have that. It probably makes a lot of sense to divest from that. And S&P is still going through its own impacts and maybe get into real estate, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, what is your reason? Maybe you need a home because your life situation has changed. Like there's so many families, and I'm very happy for them, their life situation has changed and they have more kids or they have in-laws living with them. And so they need more space. And so that's a very logical reason to sell. Some people say, look, I hate California, I'm out of here. So they may sell to leave and go to Texas or Florida or New York or Seattle or wherever they may go. That's a valid reason, right? So what is your why? Remember that as you go through the journey, because always go back to that, right? Just because homes may change and fluctuate, I mean, it's no different. Like, would you, as your stock prices, as a valuation of your stock has changed, are you like, oh, my motivation is not the same of what I can do with that money? No, the motivation is still the same, right? And it's out of our control when it comes to the general market. And to be fair, real estate actually has not done as poorly as all the other asset classes. But something people kind of forget because there's a little bit more personal tie of real estate. Your other assets portfolio probably have done far worse. That's just a different matter, but understand that and be open to yourself about that and be humbled by that too. And then the question is, what are your goals? Financial lifestyle. Maybe people still need more space. People may need a different lifestyle. Maybe people may be tired of a certain area. Those are all valid reasons to do it. Some people don't want to be landlords, right? They don't want to deal with tenants anymore. Those are all valid reasons of getting in and out of a property. Next question is, where would you want to go after you sell? Right? The benefit is if you sell first and buy later, if the market is declining, you're buying then at a lower price. Maybe you sell first and then you want to hold on to money because you're betting that prices will keep dropping. Then that's a really good opportunity to sit in cash. It's all about what your perspective is and what your bet is. These are ultimately bets that you will make depending on your situation. The other is understanding tax implications, maybe tax deals. Like just like from a financial perspective, there's strategies of harvesting losses. Those are all potential strategies that you can talk to a financial advisor about to understand what are your options. And there's different propositions that could be available. Maybe it's you're retiring and you want to downsize. That's a valid proposition to have, keeping your tax base the same, but getting money out. You may as well get more money out if you're bearish on the market, or also some people are doing 1031 exchanges. That's also a good opportunity because they can move into a higher cash flow area. As you can see, there's so many different things. So it's a question of what is your thesis and then finding the right team around that to help with your thesis. The next you also want to think about is every area is different. So if you are buying in the Bay Area is a big market too, right? San Francisco is doing differently than Santa Clara County versus Contra Costa County. So you kind of want to understand what's going on locally. And then you may also want to understand what's going on in that other local market if you're trying to do an exchange. Those are all valid things that you want to work with and deal with. You got to look at your specific neighborhood. Different price ranges are also impacted differently. So for example, many of my clients are in the $4 million plus range. That market is behaving very differently than more of the entry-level markets, right? The entry-level markets are much more susceptible to these changes. And so you have much bigger fluctuations. That being said, historically, if you actually look at prices, home prices of that kind of the average price has done better than luxury homes. So at the end of the day, there's going to be ups and downs, and then every area will have its own kind of situation. So you really want to understand like what is happening in that specific market and be prepared for it. And don't just extrapolate from the average price declining 15% and then thinking that the luxury homes are doing the same, which they're not. And last but not least, certainly extremely valuable is find a trusted real estate agent who can help you every step of the way along with this journey of finding what is the game plan for your situation. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to do anything without your permission and without your thoughts and goals. I will give you all the information that you can possibly need to make that decision so that you feel I made the best educated decision. And then I will help you execute on any of those sides, buying or selling, when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, it is your call to make and your bet to make, good or bad, just like any investments there is. So the next question people ask is, okay, Spencer, I like what you say. Look, at the end of the day, I got other things I want to do with my money. I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to be trapped in this home. There's so much equity in this. I want to tap into it so I have liquidity to do other things, right? So is there a best time to list then? And the reality is just different for different markets, right? For in the Bay Area, you saw previously, usually spring was the best time. But that being said, it really just depends on what interest rates are, and which is a completely external factor. Like my guess is my guess is next spring, if the market continues to go to the trajectory it is, would it be better than right now, fall, right? Because the interest rates is the much bigger external factor that will impact things. And we're in the Bay Area. I mean, things aren't changing drastically here. It's the same kind of temperatures, more of the mentality and what other things are going on in people's lives. Now, there are slower times. So winter is for sure. A lot of people will be traveling again this winter. I certainly am, but a lot of people will be traveling this winter. And so there are some that do a little bit better than others, but for the most parts, you're going to be just fine. So as you can see, we talked a little bit about housing prices, and it's all relative to how interest rates have been. It's actually surprisingly a very, very big correlation, especially over the last couple of years, of where interest rates were and how home prices have been. So all assets have been greatly impacted by rates. So the question then is, okay, all right, Spencer, I got an idea. I have an idea of time, seasons. All right, I'm okay to sell at fall. I want to take advantage right now because I think interest rates will be higher. Let's move forward. What is next? The next is finding the right real estate agent. Super important in this market. To be fair, it was very difficult for someone like myself. And you can see the volume that I do and how many people I've helped in the beginning of the year if you are a buyer. If you're a seller, you're the bouncer. You're the bouncer at the club. I mean, you have full control of everything. But nowadays, it's different, right? So if you're a seller, you got to be able to have somebody that's a lot more hungry, that wants to get your deal done. Someone that is putting a lot more effort, a lot more marketing, a lot more exposure for your home. Because to be fair, people have multiple options. And if somebody's going to one house, they have to make a decision. Do I want to buy this house now, or do I wait another week or 2 weeks or a month for the next house to come up? So very important for that conversation of the realtor to help them understand, like, look, this is a great home. This is the best home for you with what your family is at. You should be making the bet on this home versus others. You see how that important that is? Is the realtor that you're choosing doing that for you? Super important, right? Because if given the market has less buyers, that buyer is gone, that may be it, right? It can literally just go down to one buyer. And there's so many times that happened, right? A deal was struck because of one party. And so having the success or having the marketing exposure, having the practice and the disciplines and the team to support is incredibly important, especially now. So take a look at some of the marketing that we have done. Marketing your home right. How to market your home. Keep the goal in mind and prepare now with all the work that you may do. So it also means, hey, look, maybe you got to put in a little bit more touch-up work that you weren't willing to do in the past. You got to bring the quality of your home up. We're going to do everything we can from the photo, digital, marketing, salesmanship side of things. But you got to also do some of the favor too to get it in a better position, right? We can CGI and we can Photoshop the best photos in the world, but at the end of the day, there's certain things that you still got to do to level up the quality, because people are still going to go inside to see your house. So you got to present it as much as possible. And so that's a combination of working with that crew, maybe some remodeling and renovations, get some staging in, get some professional photography, check out my videos, as you can maybe see on YouTube already. Those are all different ways to increase the odds for maximum returns. So on top of that, because marketing is so big, you don't just market as in putting it on Zillow online. That's very, very basic. Anybody can do that. You can do that on yourself if you had a license. But the reality is there's a network involved, right? It could be email marketing. I have 10,000 plus agents in the Bay Area. So people get exposure that, hey, look, this is a great property. They may think, oh, great. I have somebody that was waiting for a property like this on the market. We will syndicate it through all the public sites. We will personally host open houses. We love open houses. This is a fantastic opportunity for us to show off your property for others and also to address their concerns. You think buyers don't have a lot of concerns right now? They'll make excuses to not want to buy houses, right? So it's important for the salesperson to be at the house and understand that and to overcome those kind of objections and those kind of challenges. So very, very important and very, very critical right now is your realtor the one that can defend your property and can talk about your property, talk it up. Very critical. So those are the different things, right? And then also, there's also other things that can be done of showing your home by letting the neighborhoods know. So we're a big fan of doing cold calls, of calling the neighborhood itself. We will actually door knock your neighbors to let them know, hey, look, we got a fantastic property on the market. Do you know of anyone that is considered to move into the area? And so those are fantastic ways because especially a lot of these neighborhoods, they're great neighborhoods and friends want to be close to friends. And so it's very common for other family members to call up their other friends. Be like, hey, look, I got somebody that wants to move here, or this house is now on the market. You got to go check it out, get things ready. And we can certainly help with that. We can do different things like staging, virtual tours, and we ultimately do video tours too, but we like to tell a story. Like the beauty of every home, especially in this market, is that there's such a story around it, whether it's the history of the home, whether it's things to do around that home. Those are all fantastic things that needs to be illustrated. Now, those are the things of the marketing side. Now we got to rely on you. We gotta need your help to do some prep work. And it's not drastic, but it's just like, what if I was going to go visit you and I'm a guest of your house? Or let's say you're going to throw a party. Similar idea, right? You want to show it off as best as you can, because in this case, even more so, people are looking to spend a lot of money and invest in your house. So do me a favor and do yourself a favor of understanding that and to present it in the best way possible. So you do that by doing the necessary renovations and remodels that I can provide suggestions with. You want to declutter as much as possible. No more artwork of your family. Just you can put that in a shelf. You can put it hidden away. It just doesn't need to be exposed. Leverage your garage, right? So garages are a great location for you to store a lot of your items. Nobody cares about what's in a garage. So that's a viable option too. We will help you hire a professional stager. They're not just a stager. It's not just renting furniture. It's also the design work, right? That's very, very critical. It's how did they design it? How do they want to stage it? How do they want to put items in? There's a reason why, even though you can buy the same items at Living Spaces or whatever furniture store you go with, but the placement of it and the choosing of the type of furniture and the way that is done, very important. And the good stagers will have a much better eye of that than most. You can do some things on the outside, improve curb appeal. You should always do some basic landscaping, nothing too crazy. Don't overdo it. Save the money, but make it presentable. Shouldn't have weeds growing all over the place and is not taken care of. Other things like my favorite, changing flooring, changing paint. Those are very easy jobs. They don't take very long time and they're the best ROI because it looks completely different. And quite frankly, can get a lot of that smell out if you've been living in the home for a long time and haven't had your home repainted in a long time. You want to have lots of natural light, want to deep clean the place, and ideally, even though you may love your pets, no pets inside the house, right? Because you have potentially allergies that can be affected people and also the smell. And so you certainly want to have that as aired out as possible, as much as possible, right? So those are all the prep tips. So the final tips that I have for you, as you decide if this is the right time, is do current market research. You can see from yourself, look at some of your neighboring homes. What have they gone for? Look at the most recent ones though. Don't share with me anything from 2 months ago. That is completely irrelevant. Even 1 month ago, to be fair, is somewhat irrelevant. You can look at the previous other homes that have sold. Look at the condition of those homes. Look at the plus and minuses of those homes. How do they compare with yours? Because if I was representing a buyer, I would be doing the same exact thing. And so once you do that, then you can understand, okay, well, what is the probable value of my home? And to be fair, it's not, I'm not the buyer of your home. So I'm not going to, whatever number that we come up with is not a guarantee, but it will be from an understanding of where it should probably be. Just like we did not expect the S&P to keep dropping, we did not expect interest rates to keep rising, we did not expect inflation to still not change. Those are all external factors depending on when you set the price. So be flexible, just be open to that. It's the reality. It's like it, but then again, like I said, it's not like even though your real estate property is going down doesn't mean all of a sudden the stock market is booming. So you're probably doing better than your other investments, to be fair, but just keep that in mind. It is not in our control when it comes to the overall market and what's been going on. The question is, understand your goals and remember them, right? What do you want to do with that money? If you do not know what to do with that money, then don't sell. It's that simple. But if you say, look, I want to move over somewhere else, I want to keep a reserves available, I think the market will crash in a few years, and I want to buy things at half the price, right? Those are your own bets. Then those are very reasonable. Then we can execute on those things, even though you may be selling for a little bit less now. But if you feel that bet, then you can ultimately double down in the future. Leverage the realtor's team. The objective of working with someone like myself and the top producers, that I have an ecosystem. This is not like I get so frustrated at sellers DMing me, you know who you are, DMing me of, hey, look, you should buy my house. Like, what the heck is going on? Your agent should have been marketing this to me, not you as a seller. Why did you DM me? Don't DM me. I'm representing a buyer for your house. I'm not gonna help yourself from that perspective, right? I'm gonna be on the opposite side. Our fiduciary responsibilities are different. So you should not be doing that yourself. You should not actually even be impacting yourself, because quite frankly, if you're doing it, then the realtor's not doing their job. Because why would that, like, you shouldn't be engaging with some other realtor. And so that's the aspect. Leverage what is out there already. Like, this is their job and livelihood. And if they did a good job, they should have a full support staff with them. That's what they're there for. That's why you're paying us, right? Is to get this out of your way. We will handle it. We will do as best as possible to move on. And the last but not least, you got to define if the benefits of a remodeling work and renovation will outweigh the cost. And consult with a realtor, consult with someone like myself that will tell you, hey, look, this is a waste of time. Don't do that. Let's clean up as much as possible. Let's do this touch up. That's just enough. We don't need to wait a few months and be more uncertain with where the market will be. Right. So those are the different things. That's about it for this call. Q&A. Let's set up a strategy call. If you want to talk about your situation, call or text me. I'm available anytime, 408-547-4590. You can continue to follow me on all my social media. YouTube, which this is being live streamed, Bay Area Tech Realtor, if you want to see what the day in life looks like in my end, on Instagram. Those are all the opportunities. And I can open up to any questions if there is anything. Let me just pull up. This is a live show on YouTube too. All right. Well, there's no questions. Actually, there's a question here. Okay. Thanks for dropping by. Well, that's about it. Of course, if you want to talk about it separately, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Send me a call or give me a call or a text, and we'll go over a situation to figure out the game plan. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the weekend. I'll see you the next one. Bye now.